So you have a customer who's also a supplier. How do you offset the invoices that they owe you against any bills that you owe them in Xero? So first of all, we're going to take the example of this one here, Bayside Club. So you can see that we've invoiced them 3,400 and they've sent us a bill for 130. So we've arranged that we're going to use part of this invoice to clear this 130. Now in Xero, you can't just use debtors and creditors or accounts receivable and accounts payable. They're completely separate, unlike in other programs where sometimes you can mix the two and then clear them off. So what we're going to do is we're going to create what we call a Contra account, or we're going to use a Contra account. So there are two ways you can do it. One, you can just create a dummy bank account, or you can use a liability account. So if I come over here and if I go into accounting, come down to chart of accounts, let's see what we have available in here that we can use. So I'm going to search for Contra. Now, if you don't do this often, a Contra account is a bit of an overkill. What most people do is they use the suspense account or clearing account, whatever you want to call it. So let's see if there's already one set up. And there is. So all we have to do with this account is to ensure that we have enabled payments to this account. And you'll see why in a minute. Obviously, if this doesn't exist, then just create one. So we'll save that. So then if we go back to the customer stroke supplier, what we'll do is we will go into this bill here, view that. And then what we're going to do is we're going to pay it off. So if we do it at, let's get rid of that. No, thanks. So if we do it at today's date, and we're going to pay that from the suspense. Now, if you hadn't ticked that box to enable payments, suspense wouldn't come up in here and you wouldn't be able to choose it. So it's a very important step. And reference, you can just put Contra, I guess. You don't have to put anything because it will take the details from the invoice payment and populate that as the reference. But you can if you want. So then remember it's 130 and we add the payment there. Yep. So then if we then go back to the customer or supplier, we'll now see that's been paid. So then what we have to do is go into the the invoice that we are going to contra with. And here we are also going to pay off 130. Same date, 23rd, and we're going to again pay it to the suspense account. Yeah, and we can leave that, but add payment. All right. So then if we then go back to the client or customer or supplier, because you can do this the other way around, it might be that you owe them more than they owe you. You will do exactly the same process, except instead of having invoices outstanding, an invoice balance, you'll have a balance of bills outstanding instead. It's exactly the same process. But the main thing is that when you check your chart of accounts or your suspense account, it must always be at 0. So if you use a suspense account for other things like putting items that you are unsure of at the time, waiting for them to be cleared, that is the time it's probably better to have a separate account for contras, basically an in and out account. So when I set them up for clients, I tend to use suspense as an unknown, and I have a contra or a bank account for clearing that I use for them. And that's pretty much all you do.